Hello, guys, and welcome back to another ranking episode tier list thing. You know, the nerf ranking tier list. Today, it will not be nerf, but it will still be a really big, influential series, Dart Zone Pro. If you don't know what Dart Zone Pro is pretty much where you are now able to buy competitive level blasters. All these blasters hit really hard, they're really powerful. This list will be very interesting. There are 19 total. And with that, let's just get started, shall we? At 19 is the Deuce. The Deuce, for me, I really wanted to be very, very cool because it was a Magnum. It was a powerful Magnum. This thing hits about like 120 or so, but it just did not show. It had the really weird trigger lock in the handle, which is just a bad trigger lock. The cylinders, sometimes the darts, because the cylinder is very loose, the darts could just fall out sometimes. It also had the weird, you could take the barrel off, which would make it hit only like 95 FPS, which I don't even know why you were even able to do that. And then the worst thing was the priming. You had to prime it back, and if you didn't prime it back fully, like all the way, it would not rotate. So it had mechanical issues, it just had issues all around, and this was the worst showing that Dart Zone Pro had to offer, I'm sorry to say. It is a cool blaster, but it has just too many issues to be viable, in my opinion. With that, let's move on to 18. 18 was supposed to be a really cool showing, the Mark 1.2, and it just wasn't. It's pretty much the same as the Nexus and all that stuff, but the issue is that this thing jammed a lot. It jammed all the time. It is a pump action Springer hitting about 150. Actually, this one I think it hits closer to 200, but it still had that dual compatibility with half darts at full length, so it had the issues of slop in its priming. Everything else is pretty much fine, but it just jammed all the time because of one piece of plastic that is inside this blaster that if you remove, it stops jamming. So let me ask you, why was that in there to begin with? And because of that, it takes this spot. There's also no ability to make this thing more accurate. There's no barrel lug that came with or anything like that. And just because it jammed more than anything else, that's why it's 18. Coming in at 17 is also another blaster everyone thought would really, really enjoy. The Omina. The Omina. Sorry. Dyslexia is really, really tough on the brain. This is a really cool blaster, to be honest with you. It is an electric blaster hitting. I don't really know what this one hits. Issues with this is the scopes it comes with are really weird. Why does it have that weird, almost grenade launcher scope on it? It's just strange to me. The stock looks a little bit short, to be honest. But the big issue with this guy is this thing was like semi-auto and full auto. And semi-auto, pull the trigger, it fires, is so delayed you just can't use it. This is a full auto blaster only. But if you use semi-auto, you pull the trigger, and a second later it fires. And that's just too long to wait for this thing to fire a second shot. A shot. The trigger to its actual firing is just too sloppy. It's way too long. Full auto is perfectly fine. This thing's really good in full auto, but just because of semi-auto is just unusable, that's why it's 17th. But overall, still good electric blaster. At 16 is the Striker. The Striker is a very interesting one because it has a really long barrel. It has my favorite shotgun prime. Still the dual, full lengths and half lengths. Really weird scope. I love the stock on this one. This stock was awesome. The issue is I don't know why with this one, like I saw the field, people would use this on the field, and for some reason this one jammed just more than Nexus Pro. Like when I was on the field watching it, like this thing would have catastrophic jams. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the weird barrel attachment on it, but it just jammed. It was just a jamming blaster, and it might not jam that often, but when it does jam, it's catastrophic. What that means is it's just not going. You have to absolutely stop what you're doing and like get something to get the dart out because it's so stuck that it just doesn't work. But this thing is also hitting around the 150s. Good blaster. We're starting to get into the better stuff, but this is still issue of jamming. That's why it's 16th. At 15th, say what you will, but the Jurassic blaster is not terrible. It is still half length and full length, and this thing is a very small compact blaster if you take everything off, because you can take the barrel off and the stock, and it's a Jurassic blaster. It's the only one that they made to be, looks different. And it's small. Issues is this thing only hits about like 130s. The prime is heavy. This is a heavy, heavy prime. And the issue with this guy is the stock is just too flimsy. Because if you try and prime it really hard with the stock bends in on itself, and it's just not fun. I like the scope on it, though. But, yeah. I do like the design of it, but stock, very flimsy, and the prime is just very heavy for what it is. That's why it's taken 15th. But still, not bad. You could take the field with this one. At 14 is when we get to the actual just good, really good ones, but there's just issues with them. This guy, still Shotgun Prime, love it. Pump action, literally good shell, looks great. There is no way you can actually put a, more accurate, like, scar barrel on it because there's nowhere to put it in the front. The issue with this guy is, it hits 150, all that, is just how it works. Because it has a long stock and it has that magazine in it, you can put a normal, Talon in it, but the issue with that is getting it back out is difficult because it comes with a long magazine that it's a flip mag, so it's long and you can flip it to the other side to load it again. Issue with that is trying to load a shorter mag into this thing is just hard, and getting it out is also hard, and it's just rough. It has its problems, but it's still good. Still a worthy blaster. 14. 13 is the one that they made before it that I think is actually better, which is the Conquest. That's the same pump, hits about 150. You can put a actual scar barrel on this one, and you load the mag into the back, which there's no stock, but to be honest, for this type of thing, I don't think it needs a stock. And this is when you actually, here on out, every blaster with this one, the top 13, I think are perfectly fine to wield on the field. You can do it. It will work well. And this guy's just the bottom of the ones that will work well, just because how you load it and no stock. With no stock, it will be less accurate. But overall, nothing really bad to say. It's still cool. It's a really cool loading mechanism. It flips the dart up from sideways. It's just interesting. 12 is the Mark 1.1. Why is this one 12? Well, that's because it's just way too much money. This thing was overpriced to heck and back. Because what we get now for $50 is crazy compared to this thing that was, 180? It hits about 150s. Really easy to take this one apart, which is true. But it rattles a bit. It has its issues. Still that full length and half length compatibility. So there are issues that come with it. It's better to just have half length compatibility. It works better. But still hitting around the 150s. Still that under prime. And overall, it's good, but it's not the price that came out good. It will never be that good. It just is too expensive for what you got. That's why it's 12th. At 11th is the Mark IV. The Mark IV is a massive blaster. This does not even give it justice. This thing is huge. This thing's hitting around I think it's about the 250s, which is super stock ranges. So this thing is powerful. This thing is a tank. But sights, terrible. I do like everything else. The handles and everything are massive and really cool. They're nice. The issue with this one is it does come with a scar barrel, but the issue is you would have to take off this extended barrel, this orange part, the front, this thing they made, which gets rid of a ton of power and makes it less accurate even with the scar barrel. Because if you use a scar barrel with something that the barrel's not long enough, it's still going to mess up the dart somewhat. So, I don't know why they couldn't put it at the front of this one, and like the ability to take part of your barrel off is just dumb. It's just not cool. It's just dumb. This one is only half dart compatible, which I like. It's cool. I want to pick one of these guys up. If you need something for super stock, this guy's going to do it for you. Just do not take off its extra barrel part. That's the only reason. Extra barrel part is just dumb. It should just be glued into the blaster. At 10, top 10 here is the Aeon. The Aeon, good blaster. It's a pistol, pretty much. Small. Did not come with this weird front part, though. It came with a different thing. You can put a scar barrel on it. It's still the full length and half length compatible. Issue with this guy is the priming. This guy's a heavy prime, and there's not really a good spot to grab on it, because your hand just slips off. You really have to dig your hand in there to prime it, and it's just a rough thing to do. It's just not fun. Hits around like the 150s too, but having to dig your hand in that top prime to prime it back because it just doesn't have enough grip on it and enough leverage, it's just not fun. Sorry to say. If you do like this blaster, completely understand. This one is still a great blaster, but because of that, it has issues. Easy fix, like what I did, was I just put a screw in the side of it so I have something to grab onto, which works perfectly. But just with how the prime works, have to give it 10. I'm not giving it any higher. Sorry, guys. At 9 is the Mark III. This is the only other electric blaster, and this one works way better. This thing is full auto, still backwards compatible with full lengths and half lengths. I think this stock is awesome. I like the silhouette. I like where you can hold stuff on it. The scope, still terrible, but just the look of this one, I love. This is a full auto monster hitting pretty dang hard. I'm not exactly how hard this one hits, but my friend brings this thing to battles, and it's just awesome. You can also, it takes 8 double A's, I think, or whatever, whatever things, or you can just take the entire battery tray out, and there's an ST60 connector, which is for LiPo battery, so you can instantly just put a LiPo battery in this thing, which was amazing to do. This thing is a awesome blaster. If you want an electric blaster, it does not get much better than this one. The only thing that I think would be that I would like more than the Mark III would be the new Strife, the Pro Strife that Nerf made. The only reason I would want that one more is because it has a rechargeable battery pack. That's the only reason. And I also prefer semi-auto. So that's why this guy's 9. At 8 is the Mark II. I actually had this blaster. I used it a lot. This front yellow part on it you can take off. All it does is make your rounds less powerful, so it's just dumb in general. This guy is also, it hits around like the 130s, but this guy is small. It's small with an internal magazine of 6, and this thing is an amazing pistol. If you need a pistol that hits hard and has capacity and it's small, doesn't get much better than the Mark II. My only issue with it is because I actually used this thing in a few battles, a decent amount of battles actually, as my go-to sidearm. And I had an issue of, it just had jamming issues. it was not the most reliable thing, to be honest. I would have to prime it back, throw it forward, and sometimes the dart would just get smashed up. This thing needs better darts to be in it. You can't really use. You can, but you'll have issues of worn darts with this guy. That's why I put 8. Sorry, guys, but that's why this guy's 8. I had jamming issues with mine. That's just how it was. Compared to my other pistols I use, which are more like magnums that never jam, it just jams too much for me to actually want it to be my secondary again, in my opinion. But still, amazing blaster. Don't get me wrong. This thing is beautiful. At 7, I'm actually putting the Mark 2.1, which is bigger than the Mark 2, but you can put a scar on this one, and this one uses mags. It uses pistol mags, so you can buy in packs. Yes, it is a bigger blaster, but I think that's perfectly fine because it's magazine fed. Mags hold like 6. If you run out of your 6 darts instead of having to top load them, like this guy, just pop that mag out, throw in a new one. I think it's like 4 mags for like $20. It's crazy. It's awesome. Only issue is this guy is very expensive. I mean, I can understand why it's expensive. Like, both these guys are expensive. But, yeah. Love it. Top prime. Beautiful blaster. It's just bigger, magazine fed. And I love magazine fed. So, for a pistol, you want capacity with mags and power, you get this guy. If you want it to be small and just hit hard with you not really much need, like as a last ditch effort, you take the Mark II. That's how it works. At 6, I'm actually giving the Outlaw. The Outlaw is, I love this handle. It's a beautiful handle. It holds 6 rounds. It's a Magnum rear prime. The prime is not perfect, but this thing hits about 120s, 6 rounds, works well. Metal, it has metal parts in it, like its priming bar is metal. I like it. It works. My one complaint with this guy is like popping out the cylinders, because it does come with an extra cylinder. It's not really popping out, it's kind of just forcing it out. It's just kind of ripping the cylinder out. There's no really like release on it. But overall, I love this blaster. Magnums are cool. This thing works great. Works way better than the original Magnum all the way back in 19th place. My only issue is the prime goes all the way down into the handle, and you can't really keep the blaster on target and prime at the same time, because you kind of have to lift it up a lot to prime it. And the prime is pretty heavy. But overall, I like it. It's a lovely pistol. I love Magnums. Sorry to say, but love Magnums. At 5th is the greatest pistol that was released in this line, which is the Solo, which is pretty much just the powerful jolt. They did everything for this blaster. This thing is you like open the barrel to load it, so easy loading, and the barrel actually even closes up, and even the T-pole closes up too, so it's very compact, hits hard, beautiful design. It does not get much better than this. It's just one shot though, so that's why it takes 5th. One shot, still amazing pistol, beautiful. The Solo is only like $20 too. You gotta pick this one up. This is a must pick up. $20, beautiful pistol. You need a pistol in Nerf. This is it right here. Easy, beautiful. Just the better jolt, pretty much. Half lengths, full lengths, beautiful. At number 4, I love this one. It's the Tomcat. The Tomcat is amazing because for a main, I do not prefer mags. I prefer cylinders, and this one is 50 half darts of 170 FPS. Beautiful. This is just an amazing blaster. And the cylinder is not even that big. It's crazy. It does have some issues with rattling and stuff. That's how all the older ones did. This one has a little bit more than normal, but it's still not enough to really matter. And it's only half length, so no slack in that handle. And it's just beautiful. I love this one. 50 round cylinder. You can't go wrong. You need power. You need capacity. You don't really have gear to carry it on. Get the Tomcat. Tomcat is beautiful. And number 3, the good old Nexus. The Nexus was where it all started. It's where everything went completely bonkers. Everyone says, get a Nexus Pro, get a Nexus Pro, and I still have to agree. If you need a powerful blaster, you get a Nexus Pro. This thing hits, well, not anymore, but in the past, yes. Still, the weird, like, I don't know why they did that, like, scope, the dang grenade launcher scope. It just doesn't work. This thing, $50, 150 FPS, full length and half length compatible, so it still has slack in the prime. It can take a Scar barrel, so it's awesome. Stock, perfectly fine. It's just very nice. People did complain about how the Picatinny rail up top is not all the way smooth, like it, as you see it drops down, which me personally don't mind it. I actually kind of like the silhouette of this blaster, and pump action, 150 FPS, $50, you can't go wrong with it. But what could possibly beat the Nexus? Like, you just gotta buy a Nexus. There's nothing else that matters, is there? But now there is. There definitely is. And number 2 is the Aeon Pro X. This is the brand new blasters in this line. And these things, my goodness, they are beautiful. It comes with a Scar barrel. It comes with a beautiful magazine. It's only half darts, top prime, and slam fire. I love this slam fire. It has a was an AR handle, so you can replace it with AR handles. Handle is still beautiful as it is. Release is amazing. Mag just falls out, and it has a stock attachment point, a nerf stock attachment point. Awesome. My one issue with these guys, these new ones, is you see how the barrel is way lower than the actual sight itself. And it causes issues, but if you get a little bit of time working on it and you get to learn how to actually use it, you'll be fine. And also this sight is completely useless and just in the way. I found that out. And at number 1 is the Nexus Pro X, the brand new blaster. This thing hits 200 FPS. It's a beautiful design. Everything's beautiful on it. It has a dang bearing scar and a Scar barrel on it that has capacity for both of them. Both of them you can put on board, which is crazy. It's just beautiful. There is, like, this thing for $50, you cannot do any better. There is nothing better than this thing for $50. This thing feels way better than the older ones. Same as like this one. Both of these feel way better than everything else on this list. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful blaster. Again, my only issue with this thing is that the barrel is way lower than the actual sight itself, which has issues. Also, this scope is completely useless. Throw it away. It's not helpful. But it also has what the Nexus Pro didn't have, which is a full Picatinny rail across the top that people complained about. It also has slam fire, so this thing you can slam off. I do like this one slam fire more for some reason. Also, something, sorry about this guy, is that it has a good place to grab, which the original Aeon did not have Aeon Pro did not have. So this one is actually pretty dang easy to prime compared to the original because you actually has places to grab and places to hit your hand, so you're not just squeezing the crap out of it. But yeah, Nexus Pro X, greatest blaster that Dart Zone Pro has made so far. I can't wait to see new blasters out. I can't believe there's already been 20. There's been, well, no, I can't believe there's still been 19 blasters released. And some have their issues, but all of them are pretty good. And the new ones are just on a different level. And they're cheap, and that's crazy. And with that, that's ranking all of Dart Zone Pro for 2024. I hope that even greater blasters will come out, and I hope to see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.